Yes, welcome into Temple and Heilprin, live from Monk's Bar and Grill in Sun Prairie. We are here every Thursday from 6 to 7, myself and Jesse Temple. Jesse, how's it going?
A little hectic tonight.
Little hectic today as Keontez Lewis announced that he is transferring. And we'll talk about that coming up here in a little bit. Before we get to that, just wanted to let everybody know what's going on out here at Monk's. It's a great place to come out here for Badgers and Packers games. They have game day, $15 domestic bottles, $15 domestic buckets, I can do it, and Jell-O shots for every touchdown the Packers and Badgers score. We also have a great happy hour that we're actually in the middle of right now. It's from 3 to 7, Monday through Friday. You can get free upgrades on 22-ounce mugs, as well as $2 off appetizers. So come on, check them out. They've got some great TVs, some great football. Going to be seeing some football tonight, NFL football, as the Vikings head to Philadelphia, looking to avoid an 0-2 start. And we'll see if they can get it done. They're dealing with some injuries. Philadelphia's dealing with some injuries as well. But I don't think anybody that's listening to this really cares about that game. They want to hear about Wisconsin, and they want to hear about Keontez Lewis. And he has decided to move on after a little more than a season. I guess, 15 games he gave it here at Wisconsin after moving on, after coming here from UCLA. He did not play against Washington State. First game, he got 6 snaps and caught one pass. Pass for 12 yards. It's a big difference from last year, right? I mean, he had 20 catches. He had 3 touchdowns. He was essentially the third wide receiver for them last year behind Skylar Bell and Chimere Dike. It was never thought that he would not be in the top 6. I think we talked about that throughout the offseason and spring ball and fall camp, and we always thought there was going to be a 6-man rotation, and then come opening week it was not, and he has decided to pull the plug and head elsewhere. Now, I know you had a chance to talk to him, and I'm sure that there's a lot that goes into this decision.
Yeah, I'll preface this by saying that when you're talking to a player who is leaving the program and is leaving under a situation where he's not playing, not going to be all that happy about the situation. So I think I want to acknowledge that. And obviously when I talk to him, I'm only hearing one side of the story, but Keontez certainly not thrilled with how this all went down. You're right. When we watched the first 2 weeks of preseason practices, it certainly looked like there was going to be a 6-player rotation and that he would be a part of it. And as we know, once Buffalo arrived, there was a 5-man rotation, and Keontez was left out. They certainly like what Chimere Dike gives. And then obviously on the other side, they had Bryson Green and C.J. Williams. But Keontez, when I was talking to him, I asked him, did you have any sense going into that opener that you would not be a part of the rotation? And he said no idea. And one of his biggest gripes is he didn't feel like there was adequate communication in terms of what was going on. And he said that between week 1 and week 2, wide receivers coach Mike Brown told him that things were going to go back to normal. And Keontez told me that he assumed normal meant the normal rotation, and the normal rotation would be 6 players. And as you laid out, Zach, he did not play any snaps in that Washington State game. And so for Keontez, the writing was on the wall. I must say I am surprised by the timing of this. We know that the rules of the transfer portal are that the actual portal window isn't open right now. You have to wait until December. But his plan is to, he feels like he's kind of cutting his losses right now and can reset and mentally prepare for when that time comes. He's not happy with the way this went down, obviously. And yet it's 2 games.
Yep. And a lot can happen. He's 1 injury away from getting significant playing time. Again, I mentioned this in our show on Tuesday, the camp, that when Chimere Dike went out on last Saturday when he got hurt in that last drive, Keontez Lewis was not the person that replaced him. It was C.J. Williams that came over to the other side. And we know what Wisconsin has done throughout what we've seen. Chimere Dike is on the left side. Keontez Lewis has been on the left side. Quincy Burrows has been on the left side. On the right side, it's been C.J. Williams and Bryson Green and, some of the younger guys, right? But that was not the case. And we saw it in game 1, too, when they went into their, he called it burn time, I think it was. Keontez called it burn time. He was the guy on the right side, so he would have been the third guy behind Bryson Green and C.J. Williams, and it was Quincy Burrows in the spot that Chimere Dike normally holds, I guess. So, do you know what happened there? Did they make a change? And how far away was he from playing time? Was it going to be having to go through Bryson Green and C.J. Williams?
it's tough to say how far away he was. Again, Keontez, it seems like, felt a little confused about why this happened. And for him, he was okay with not being a starter. He just wanted to be a part of the rotation, but he also felt like, what he told me, this lingered a little bit in terms of probably going back to spring ball, because as we know, he moved down to the second team group. There was a stretch where C.J. Williams had really good moments, and he went up to the ones, and that obviously shuffled some things around. And so he said he felt like there wasn't done enough in the spring to earn what happened. And I think why he wants to leave now is he feels like, hey, I put it on tape last year. Look at what I did. I didn't do anything to diminish my opportunities in the spring or the fall, and yet this is the role that I find myself in. And, I'll tell you, the thing that he told me when I asked him I said, do you feel like you were left with no choice here? What's your approach? And he said, what would you do in this position? 0 snaps, no love. You got burn time that first game, and they treat you that way, and you're more than capable of what they're giving you. And he said, I feel like I just did what anybody would have done that's in my shoes. So I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm only giving you the perspective of how Keontez feels in this moment, and he felt like he needed to make a change as a result.
We talked about it on Tuesday. Were you surprised by the lack of playing time? And I think we both were. And obviously now that he has left, we also know that some family members have come out pretty strongly and talked about some of the other stuff that they believed happened here. But what was the impression that you got from him about the reason why he left? Was it strictly playing time? Was there more to this than just playing time?
I got the sense that it is strictly playing time, and that he just didn't have the communication that he wanted with the coaching staff in terms of what he needed to do, or when they, and he didn't go into detail about, well, what was it that Mike Brown said you need to do. He felt like he was doing those things, and so it was one of those agree to disagree situations. So I'm not entirely sure, but that seems to be the main reason, is playing time. Because again, if he was number 6 and they were playing 6, he would still be here. He just wanted an opportunity to play, but when he realized that wasn't going to be a part of the plan, at least early in this season, that's why he wanted to leave. He wants to go somewhere where he can play. That's honestly what it comes down to. It sounds like, he loves the guys that he was with at Wisconsin, didn't necessarily want to leave. But why did he come here? He came here because he played 11 games at UCLA as a true freshman. He didn't catch one pass. When Alvis Whitted was the wide receivers coach here, he saw something in Lewis, a big-bodied guy who can be a big play wide receiver guy. And another thing that Keontez told me is, I'm the best deep threat on the team. Now, that's his perspective. He showed that in flashes. So that's ultimately, to me, what seems to be the only reason.
As we're sitting here, we don't have a full picture, right? Because you only talk to Keontez. Obviously, you have to go through a little bit more hoops to talk to Wisconsin, and that effort's been made as well. But I will say, I don't think that this makes either side look bad. I think it's just you're breaking up now. You don't want that. If Keontez Lewis does not want to be there, and he's going to be upset that he's not getting playing time, and he's going to potentially be, and I'm not saying he is, but could potentially be a thorn in the side of the coaching staff, and they're trying to clean, or not clean, but change the culture and do things differently, then just leave. That's fine. And I think it's the same from Wisconsin's point of view. It's like, all right, you don't want to be here, leave.
Yeah, and the thing is, some side could make the case, well, this coaching staff brought in its own guys and wanted to play its own guys. You know what? The coaching staff wants to play the guys that they believe are going to give this team the best opportunity to win, and it's hard for me to sit here and say that the ones that are playing shouldn't be playing. We've seen the potential that C.J. Williams has had. Bryson Green is, to me, at least what we've seen, the best deep threat that they have, the most physical, certainly. And Chimere Dike, yes, he's earned that opportunity, and what it comes down to is if you don't have Dike on the field, that means you got to put someone else in there, and they really like Dike. And so in an ideal world, and Mike Brown had talked about this going into the season, they wanted to play 6 wide receivers. And we saw in the first 2 weeks there was a stretch where they were rotating, and I mentioned this, like it was a hockey shift, 3 in, 3 out. Now, how realistic was that going to be for the season? Obviously, we know now not entirely realistic, but I don't think this is a situation of you're right. The staff didn't do anything wrong in terms of who's playing. Now, again, just from this one side, Keontez doesn't feel like the communication was there, but he's also not happy with the lack of playing time, and so your experience and perspective can be clouded from that.
Right, and I think a lot of people say, like, yeah, this coaching staff brought in their guys. They wanted them to play. That's fine. That's fine. You got, you're not happy that some transfers passed you by. He passed some guys by when he came in as a transfer too, right? I mean, it's not that like he wasn't some of the guys behind him weren't in the exact same spot they were last year, and what did they do? They moved on,
right?
Stefan Bracey moved on. Like there are those guys that moved on. They got passed, and they're like, all right, we're going to move on, and that's exactly what Keontez is doing. I don't know exactly and maybe he told you this or not, but does he have to sit out a year? Because this is going to be his second transfer. And the waiver, it's not an automatic now. You get one free one. It's not automatic. We've seen some of this, how this is played out at some of the other schools. I mean, there's a big thing down at UNC right now with Tez Walker, and he actually had a reason for going home. Keontez is just not getting playing time. I don't think that's going to be a great waiver decision. But what do you know? That
part I don't know, but it's a great point. And you're making this decision. You obviously have to be all in it. And same if you're going to stick with the team. As a coach would say, you're either all in or you've got one foot out the door. We don't want you anymore. But when you make this decision, you've got to be aware of the ramifications. And one of those ramifications could be the amount of time you have to sit. He obviously felt very strongly about this and was fed up enough to make this decision, but that is certainly notable in this transfer portal decision.
Without knowing Wisconsin's side of it, how do you think this makes Wisconsin look?
I don't think it makes Wisconsin look bad. I mean, the only thing that I see is, well, what kind of communication was there between Keontez and the coaches, and that may be something that stays in-house. That's certainly the coaching staff's right. Now, Keontez said that he had no idea he was not going to play, and if that is the case, then certainly I think there needs to be a greater level of communication for guys who are putting all this time in. But again, that is only one side of the story here. So that's the only element here where I can say, well, could the coaching staff have done a better job of communicating? But right now, we don't know the full picture.
It's funny. I feel like a lot of these, and you do a great job with these exit interviews, and you get a lot of them. I feel like a lot of them are talking about communication or lack thereof between coaching staff and otherwise. So it feels like it's a rather big aspect of people wanting to leave and move on at times.
And people want to feel the love. They want to feel like the coaches really want them to be a part of something, but it comes down to playing time. Everybody who comes to Wisconsin generally was the guy on their high school team, and this is not new for them. And you have to adjust to it and figure out how to deal with it. And if you can, obviously we see guys leave, and it's interesting because every position group, every situation ends up differently. I probably, till the end of time, when we talk about the transfer portal situation, we'll go back to the Quan Easterling thing, where he left, and then literally that week, the two guys that were in front of him got injured, and if Easterling had stayed, he may have well been fullback number one. Now, who knows and now what it would have looked like with moving away from fullbacks, but you just never know. And again, you've got to be really sure when you make this decision that you're ready to step away.
It's funny you mentioned him. I looked him up like a month or so ago, and he's playing tight end.
There you go.
At, what was it, Quinnipiac? Is that where he ended up?
Was it?
No, it was Duquesne. Duquesne. He ended up at Duquesne. So, yeah, not exactly an ideal situation for him, and we'll see. Do you think Keontez Lewis is their best deep threat?
I think he's one of them.
Okay.
But obviously, you've got to be the most consistent guy to get those reps. I think I would go, Bryson Green, from the little that we've seen, very impressive. I know he had a 41-yard reception against Washington State. He can do some special things.
Should have had a touchdown as well.
Yep, he should have.
If he had gotten hit on that.
Absolutely.
That deep post.
There was no safety help over the middle, and he had his guy beaten on the inside, and Tanner just threw it a little bit behind him.
Yeah, I'm sure Tanner's thinking about that one.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I've seen a lot of people say, oh, they don't have these guys running deep. They don't have them running open. And I'm like, I think they do. They've had steps on guys. They've had moments, and they've had moments where they've hit. Right? Chimray had a long one that they did hit on. You mentioned the Bryson Green one. They had another one that was called back on the back shoulder throw. And again, I know that's not a deep throw, but the type of stuff that they're able to throw the ball down the field, they have the ability to do it. And I think a lot of people will point to like the fades that they ran to C.J. Williams in the end zone. They're like, oh, Keontez Lewis could have been. No, I don't agree at all. I think it's a situation where they put the guy that they feel most comfortable in there, and they felt comfortable about C.J. Williams, and they didn't want to play, and they didn't want to put Keontez in there. I think it's just simply as simple as that. So he moves on, and Wisconsin has one less wide receiver. They still have quite a few of them, though I will say they are injury-wise. They're starting to pile up there. They have their top 5, which is good. Vinny Anthony, obviously, is probably that number 6 now, and behind them dealing with some injuries as well with Tommy McIntosh and Chris Brooks Jr. But again, and obviously Treshka Kahuna, another guy a lot of people were excited about coming in. So we'll see. I think they're still all right at wide receiver right now.
They've got some pieces there to work with.
They do. All right, we're gonna step aside when we come back. Gonna get into Braylon Allen's workload. There's some people upset about that, or he's a little upset about that. We're live from Monks in Sun Prairie. Here, you're listening to Temple and Heilprin.